Good day, Industrial Advisor listeners, and thank you for tuning in. If you have not subscribed, please do so by clicking subscribe wherever you podcast. Click the like button and hit the bell if you want notifications of when we put up new content. Leave us a comment about anything we discuss here today or general comments about the show. Now, let's get into it.
Welcome to our Industrial Advisors podcast. You have Bill Condon and Matt McGregor. We have a 5-minute Friday today talking about multi-story warehouses, which is becoming more and more prevalent every year. So let's jump into it, Matty.
Of course, we had the first one here, Gateway with Prologis.
By the way, every time, and I'm not kidding, every time I drive to the airport with our family,
Yes.
I say the same thing every time. Like, hey, kids, that was the first multi-story warehouse in the country.
Yes.
Yeah, and they're like, yeah, you've told us 100 times. Yeah. Anyway,
exactly.
Cool. I think it's cool.
Well, I would say, take it back. It's the first multi-story kind of this generation. Because back, if you look back, there were plenty of them in the 40s and 50s.
Yeah, a little 2-story. Yeah, but that was
3, 4, 5-story.
That was
elevator.
That was the first fulfillment type big.
Of course.
Yeah,
a little different. Yeah, a little different beast.
Not counting the ones.
Yeah. So for the listeners, perspective, there's two different styles of multi-story. They construct these with truck courts above one another, so they're elevated, almost like if you're driving up the freeway, turn circles, you drive trucks up these large ramps to multiple levels of typically 2 on those, but they can be much higher. I saw one in Tokyo that was 5 stories of truck courts over truck courts. So that was the largest one I've ever seen. They're obviously building these in close to cities and in dense urban areas where land is very expensive, so you need to go vertical. So that's the first type. And then the second type is the freight elevator type, where the loading doors are on the first floor, and then the multiple stories would be accessed by freight elevator only.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think they're just overall, they're unique, so I like that aspect of it.
Mm-hmm.
Usually they're close in. Right, close in to it
because of the land value.
Because of the land value, so you're and usually those sites, are in infill locations where there's very little land left, or you're not going to building down and building a multi-story building. So they're unique in the sense of typically they are also located very close in to a downtown or major city center.
That's right, and I don't know if it's if it's because of the combination use, but I think a lot of them are being delivered now when vacancy is going up. So some of them have become a little bit problematic, vacancy-wise, both nationally and locally, right? The largest one I'm aware of is in New York. We got the flyer for it here, the Bronx Logistics Center, 1.3 million feet, $33 to $35 a foot on that building. There's no listed rates, but that's what they're looking for. That's a 2-level truck. I think locally here, we've got one that I think is a brilliant design, Seattle Metro Logistics, 702,000 feet on 2 floors. I want to say about $2 a foot-ish.
I think that's what they're quoting, yeah.
Yeah, so there's your kind of range. I personally like those projects and those types of areas very close in, like the Seattle one's an excellent location, close to rooftops, close to the downtown. I think these are e-commerce, more, attracted buildings, so they need to be close in. So as these are successful, they will be successful, I think, because of e-commerce.
Yeah, I think that's right. I mean, some of them, have struggled.
No question.
And in particular, in our market, we've seen some of them, most of them sit before leasing for a time. Now, I'm sure they all write that into their downtime and plan for that. But, there are, one of the challenges, I think, with those type of buildings are they are unique, right? And so they're not for everybody.
That's right.
And usually it's the location that's driving that decision to be there. So it just takes one, but you got to find the right.
That's right. And then let's just talk about the not for everybody and what's struggling. So we have 2 in this market that are then the freight elevator ones. So you got Track 6 and 65 South Horton that have struggled, right? And they are first floor loaded and then freight elevator. So we're seeing, I don't know, again, if it's because the vacancy is going up, what the issue is, but we're certainly seeing the market saying we don't we're not valuing these to the degree that the show, what they're looking for in rate, right?
Yeah, and I think you kind of touched on it as vacancy has jumped up. Some of these buildings have been delivered, right? So so it just creates more competition in the marketplace, right? And generally speaking, if you go a little bit further south, you can get it, a more standard building at a much cheaper rate. Right?
That's right.
So again, it comes back to the location, finding the right group that wants to be here, that'll pay for it. And once you do, you're great. But it's just that tenant pool isn't as deep as if you were to go down to the Kent Valley and just look for a standard 100,000 square foot warehouse.
Ground level.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it will be interesting to see what has to happen. Like, does the vacancy rate have to go back down for these to lease? Does the shell rate have to come down? I think maybe both, but definitely the rate.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think they're unique projects. The Bronx one you mentioned will be really interesting to see what happens there.
Yeah.
The one in Seattle,
I think that'll lease.
That's 700,000 feet. That's that's probably the building I'm watching the closest, just because of the uniqueness of it and just what's going to happen there with that size of a building in the South Seattle submarket that overall is struggling right now. So it is a great building, great design. I agree that it'll get leased as well. The question is, when's it going to get leased?
If we're going to bet, predictions to close this 5 Minute Friday, that one, because again, I think the success of these projects have been the bigger ones, the multi-story truck level, not freight elevator. My guess is that thing leases within, sign leases within 2 months of being completed, the whole building.
Well, I always root for buildings to lease, so I'm not going to argue with you. I hope you're right.
Yes.
I hope you're right, and it's not sitting in a year. Yeah. So
Very
so
good.
anyway, very interesting one to look at, the multi-story, and we'll see how it goes this year and how those projects do.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Happy Friday.